All right, we're going to get started. We still have people coming in, but I've got a couple intros and just wanted to really thank everyone again for joining us today. My name's Jeff Shipman. I'm the president and CEO of Heartline Fitness. We are a full service fitness supply, design, installation service, do it all, concept to completion, best in class fitness provider. And today we have some special guests. Obviously, we're focused on pools today, but we're also going to cover some of our reopening key points from some of our previous webinars. And then today we actually were able to bring in another guest, a part of the Heartline team, Jeff Vogel, to go over redesigning of layouts and some of the signage and additional considerations as we prepare to open up the fitness center. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. We have a ton of information here as the continuation of our webinar series goes on. Every Wednesday at 1:30, please join us. We will review some of the things we've done in the past, and then obviously bring in other industry experts to help all of us through this COVID-19 situation. And whether we're reopening or we need to understand how do we stay open, we want to ensure that our clients and potential prospects are best informed. Without any other further delay, I'd like to introduce Ben Bash. He is the Chief Growth Officer. Ben's going to review swimming pools and operations and preparing to get ready for opening. And we also will have Jeff Vogel. He's a part of our strategic accounts team with Heartline Fitness. So Ben, I will launch it off to you, and you just tell me when you're ready for the next slide.
All right, good stuff. I just want to thank you, Jeff, and Heartline Fitness Systems for inviting us on to the forum, and give us the opportunity to share some information on the multifamily pool front. Obviously, hot topic right now with Memorial Day approaching, and just a lot of uncertainty in terms of what to do, how to carry through the current situation. So. You can go ahead and hit the next slide. Just real quick about American Pool. We provide service from Massachusetts all the way down to Houston, Texas, certainly business in Florida as well. Lifeguard service, repair, renovation, product, chemical, all that good stuff. But don't want to take too much time on that now. You can always look us up at americanpool.com. Next slide. Okay, so for us, it's personal, and I say that because everybody in our organization and most swimming pool companies, we're made up of people that have a love for aquatics and a passion for safety. You see Tasia there; she's one of our former employees who, she's been working as a nurse for a number of years. And, she's out there in the area hospital working on the front line. We're really proud that she, was on our team. And once you're on our team, you're always on our team. And a lot of our people are get their start in aquatics or lifeguarding because they have a passion for safety. They have a passion for health. And a lot of our staff goes on and carries on into various medical and first responder positions. So just a big shout out to those guys because they're out there working hard for us. Next slide. Review a few facts. The CDC put out a specific statement on swimming pools just to help allay concerns about the possibility of transmission of the COVID-19 virus inside the pool water or inside of the hot tub water. There is zero evidence. There's no reason to believe that the virus can be transmitted through water that is well maintained and chlorinated. So as long as the chlorine is at the proper levels and the pH is in range, all those things, a well-maintained swimming pool the COVID virus does not survive that environment. So that's great news, and in some ways not totally surprising, because there are so many other pathogens that could be in the water in any given summer. That's why it's so important to have good chemistry in the pool, good consistent chemistry, and a strong maintenance program. Because if it's not COVID-19, there are anything from hepatitis A to giardia, all kinds of things that we're battling every season. COVID-19 is just joining us this year. So inside the pool water, inside the hot tub water, as long as it's well maintained, there's really no opportunity for it to be transmitted through the water. The larger challenges exist in the pool area, and those challenges and considerations are going to be similar as you would find in the other common areas within the community. Although if the pool is an outdoor pool, as most of them are, we do get the benefit of UV, and we get the benefit of the open air that is makes transmission more difficult. So those are all things that make the pool environment special, and certainly create the opportunity for hopefully this season we'll be in a position to have that opportunity open for people to get out and use. Okay, that's my high-tech graphic of it being eradicated by the chlorine there. So this is we spent a lot of time educating our clients and the marketplace about the importance of preparation and maintenance of the pools as an independent consideration from whether or not the pool would be open for use. And, there are a number of reasons why the pool, you do need to carry through and carry on with your pool program, because you have to be able to address the public health considerations and the facility considerations that are not related to the use of the pool. So largely our work this time of year is very similar to the work that we're doing on any year in terms of preparing and maintaining the pools. So, there are, the health departments are very supportive, and in most markets, and in several markets we're specifically authorized as essential workers because of the public health considerations. You don't want to have a situation where you have standing water that's untreated on your property due to the potential for mosquito infestation. And the health departments don't want to trade one issue for another. Say, okay, well, we're not going to open the pool this season. We're not going to prepare the pool. We're not going to treat it. We're not going to do any of those things. You're trading one issue for another. Now you could potentially have issues with outbreaks of West Nile and Zika virus, to name just a couple of the things that could happen. So it is extremely important that the pools still be prepared and maintained for the pool season, regardless of whether you're going to use it or not. So I'll just give a quick example. Down in Florida, it's 90 degrees today down there. I know because I was talking to our partner down there, where in the areas where they were shut down, their pool maintenance program is really no different than it would be any other year. They're still going out, they're still taking care of the pool, they're still treating it, all those things. So as in the Northeast or in the northern markets where even if you have seasonal, you can't just leave the cover on it and set it and forget it, because of, it's going to warm up, and we don't want to have these public health issues. On the facility side, there are problems associated with not getting your pool up and running. The pool equipment is built to run. think about your car. Actually, my car is sitting in the driveway. I probably need to get out and start it. The longer I leave it, the less happy it will be when I try and start it. So you do have to run this stuff. The longer these sit not running, you have gaskets and all kinds of things that will dry out and create challenges down the road. You want to also recognize the fact that if the pool's not up, circulating and being sanitized, you're going to have a proliferation of algae. And as that goes on, you're going to have staining and damage to the actual pool shell, the pool surface, because of that accumulated algae and biological, material. The other thing is, we're not sure, in a normal season, we can say, okay, Memorial Day weekend, we're opening, and we drive to that date. In this case, that date is kind of malleable. So having the pool up and running and circulating puts you in a position where when it becomes permissible, you'll be, in shot of, getting open. You don't want to just start opening the pool, preparing the pool as it becomes permissible. You'll be way too far behind. Don't forget, you still have to winterize the pool, regardless of usage. So another reason you have to get your pools up, running, circulating. You're going to have to winterize the pool in the seasonal markets, regardless of whether you use the pool or not. So don't think that, hey, it was closed last year, I'm just going to leave it, it'll be fine. You're going to end up with, huge damage if the pool is not re-winterized, because the plugs that were in there have expanded and contracted. I would not trust that that's just going to hold for 2 winter seasons. It's not made for that. And with having a maintenance program, regardless of usage, you're going to have a more normal 2021 pool opening instead of an accumulation of problems, increased stainage, all the mechanical, all those things happening at once. We're always hard pressed, plenty of work to get done to open the pool in a normal season. That would really be multiplied exponentially if the pools are not up, running, and maintained for the season. So we all have a responsibility from maintaining our facilities and maintaining the asset to the public health considerations. We have a responsibility to keep these pools moving. Next slide. This is, you can hit this as kind of what you think your pool looks like. Again, we've had countless conversations about, I'll just leave the cover on it, it'll be fine. The last time you saw your pool, it was looking great at the end of last season. Now it's under the cover. You think your pool is staying just like that. That's kind of how you remember it. It's kind of like going back to your high school reunion. You're like, oh, I think this person looks like that. And well, this is what your pool really looks like. This is us pulling the cover. This was even, 3 or 4 weeks ago, this pool, we pull the cover. This pool was treated, it was winterized, but as we're coming into the season, you can see there's already stuff waking up in there. That is a clear green pool. We got to get it moving. We got to get it circulating. So if your pool's sitting under the cover still, there's stuff going on underneath. Next slide. This is the map that we put together for our clients, specifically for the seasonal market. And we broke our season into 5 phases. And just real quickly to roll through it, phase 1 is the preparation phase. These dates are kind of target dates, but that would have been the normal preparation that we would do any time of the year. Phase 2 being maintenance. We've got the pool up and running. It's being filtered. It's being sanitized. We're protecting the facility and we're protecting public health. This is where most of our pools now are hanging out until we can get clarity on the opening, which would be in phase 3, we have an approval for use, or it becomes permissible to open the pool. We're likely to see some additional requirements in terms of getting that pool open, whether it's, managing how many people can use the pool at a time, or, special considerations for furniture and bathrooms. All those things have to get dealt with in phase 3. Phase 4, we're actually open for use. We are looking at most likely an abbreviated season in most markets. So phase 4 is we're open for use. That's your normal pool season, and we're still keeping up with any normal requirements, plus new requirements associated with COVID-19. And then phase 5 is your normal winterization of the pool. So it is possible that we could see pools go from phase 1, phase 2, straight to phase 5. Then you've protected your facility, and you're going to have a more normal 2021. There is huge value, and there's huge reasons, as we talked about. You got to do those phase 1 and phase 2. And that is going to be very different in different markets where we end up getting to experience, phase 3 and phase 4. So right now, Georgia, Tennessee, Maryland, and Virginia, it sounds like we're getting a lot more information from the health departments now along the lines of what we need to do to get open. So we're starting to, hopefully get out of that phase 2 area. And, in New York, New Jersey, we would expect to be moving into that phase 3. Most likely, it looks like it's going to be just a little bit later. So that's how we look at the season. Go ahead and flip to the next slide. All right, so to just kind of wrap this thing up, just key takeaways. Remember that preparing the pool is a process. Do not wait until it becomes permissible to use the pool to get started on your pool program. You are already really far behind. If you're sitting there going, well, we'll just wait and see, I'm not sure, if we're going to proceed, just think about the public health reasons and the facility reasons that you really do need to proceed with your preparation and maintenance of the pool. And that is, that's part of our responsibility with these facilities and to the public. So again, maintaining the pool is essential for our health and safety, preserving and protecting the physical asset. And then lastly, maintaining customer service and reputation. We want to make sure that our properties are looking good, that we're messaging to these communities that we are, up on up to date on what needs to happen. And if and when it becomes permissible to use these pools, we want to make sure that there is an option to do so. If we don't get going with this stuff now, we're going to lose that option. And I think that is the end. Just keep swimming. We're all going to be okay. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. And, I think a couple of the things that were eye-opening for me as you kind of lifted the hood or lifted the cover on the pool is, you leave it looking crystal clean and throw this hood on, and, you really don't realize what's going on there, because after, a company like American Pools comes out, you guys quickly get that out of there, and it looks clean again. So thank you for all the elaboration here. And the visual perspective and the phases of the pool too are really, that's quite a lot of information there, and understanding of what you need to do now, depending on the path that you're going with your pool in this pool season. So with that, I am going to switch PowerPoints here. So pardon the transition here. What we want to do next, and again, Heartline Fitness, there's a lot of things that we obviously do, and where we've been focusing lately is opening considerations, our disinfect and protect. Today, we're going to cover those briefly, but then we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into some of the signage that we can provide for you. There's tons of signage out there that you can create or Google, and then just design and flow, right? We didn't necessarily build these fitness centers for what we're encountering today with COVID and social distancing and all these other things. So we want to provide some perspective on this, But again, there's a lot of different things that Heartline has the capability and obviously services to provide you. These are a glimpse into some of those, their considerations um, that we're trying to educate and review everybody with. So just to touch on a couple opening considerations that we've covered in the past, you know, first of all, you need to follow CDC guidelines, okay? And that's telling us we need to follow social distancing. One of the things I've been consistently telling everybody is in the gym environment, right? You obviously have you're exercising, you have an elevated heart rate, you have an elevated respiratory rate, okay? When you think about your respiratory rate, you have 1.5 to 2 liters of air going in and out, right? And outside of contamination on the surface, the bigger reason or where we're seeing contamination is through the water droplets, okay? So just keep in mind you have somebody who could be asymptomatic, elevated respiratory rate. Very quickly we can contaminate, you know, an area, okay? So with that in mind, social distancing is great. I say extend it even past the 6 feet if you can, but mandate that you need to wear a mask. And that's one of those things that I think we're not being too pushy in any of that. In a lot of states, you need to wear that going out in public anyway. So mandatory wearing a mask, social distancing, and again, we're going to talk about signage here in a little bit, but communicating, you know, the flow of things and how your gym is going to operate because it was designed to operate in a different way than it's going to operate when you plan to reopen, and continue to stay open. The other precaution, and I'm just kind of diving into disinfect and protect here, is the disinfectant is only good while it's killing or disintegrating viruses. Okay, so once that's done, the field's open, right? You can contaminate the surfaces. We all have our own flora of bacteria and germs that we carry around that, you know, we've built up antibodies to, we're immune to, and it's okay, right? Once we walk into the room, touch something, guess what? Those things can grow on surfaces. And really in this concept too, we can't disinfect all day long. We can't afford to disinfect all day long, right? So there's an in-between disinfection process that's out there to protect these surfaces from that buildup, right? Or from that transmission and kind of eliminate those pathogens. And I think that's important for everyone really to understand is you could only do so much disinfecting, right? And it only goes so far by nature of the process that you're performing with a disinfectant. So the in-between time where we can actually protect from the bio buildup or the transmission of viruses sitting on surfaces for an extended period of time, right? And we know we've heard from 3 hours to 3 days. The worst part of it really is there's a lot of plastic and metal, and that's where the virus obviously can stay the longest in the fitness center. So provide more than just a protectant or a disinfectant, service here, and protect your surfaces. Heartline, again, we've got more information on this, but we are providing an antimicrobial protection service for in between that disinfectant process that you may be providing through us, you may be providing through another provider, but again, please contact us. The fitness equipment is sensitive. We don't want to see you cleaning stuff and now you got a $5,000 treadmill that's just out of use in an environment where you might lose 50% of the access to all the equipment that you have just to maintain social distancing. So again, let's keep it safe. Let's make sure the equipment's working when you limit the number of units there. Without any further delay here, I'm going to turn this over to Jeff in a minute. But I wanted to show you some of the signs that we are providing in our documentation, which if you want more information here, obviously contact us at help@heartlinefitness.com. Everyone who is registered or attended the webinar today, we will be providing this in an updated document and a copy of the recording here or the documentation in the webinar. So if you see something you really like here, just hold tight, we'll get it to you. But, you know, tons of signage out there that we've created. You can find it on Google. You know, we want to practice social distancing. We want to talk about waiting areas so we're not having a congested fitness area. wearing masks, wiping things down. Welcome back. We're open. Okay, let's find some positive light in this too, right? So Jeff, I will turn it over to you and take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Jeff, and thank you for everyone being on today. I want to reiterate, I hope everyone's being safe and healthy in this critical time. So what I wanted to do today is, for those of you who have been with us the past couple of weeks in our webinars previously, we've been discussing, obviously, disinfection, protection, and different protocols and different ways in which we're hoping to redesign the facilities to accommodate new social distancing regulations. However, we've been talking about it a little bit more in abstract. So today what I wanted to do is present some scenarios for you guys to actually be able to visualize what we anticipate will be the new normal in tomorrow's amenity fitness centers. So we've compiled, again, a couple scenarios, a new development scenario where there's a new fitness center, whether it's a new construction project or a renovation. The second one would be an existing fitness center and how we might be able to transition and segue that into, again, the new normal. But just a caveat before we jump in, no one's fitness center, no two fitness centers are going to be alike. Everyone's fitness center is unique from a design standpoint, from equipment specs, amounts of equipment. So what we're presenting today, take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. These are simply recommendations. It may not fit for everyone's particular fitness center or everyone's particular scenario. So what I would recommend is contact us, contact the experts. All of our sales reps across the board, across the country, are well-versed in how to adapt a fitness center, an existing fitness center, or a new fitness center to accommodate these social distance regulations. So this first slide would be, again, as I mentioned, a possible new fitness center, either new development, new construction project. The first thing to note is you'll see these rather large 6-foot social distancing circles located throughout the room in between the equipment. Again, one of the most important things that Jeff has alluded to throughout the webinars, and I'm sure you've heard many, many times, is social distancing is key. We need to maintain that social distance to keep safety for everybody throughout the room. That said, what we also want to make sure we're accommodating for future designs is, if you can see in the upper portion of the room there, additional outlets, additional data ports. We want to be able to, at some point, hopefully, fingers crossed, be able to re-expand our capacity within the fitness center, our activity levels, but for the time being, maintaining those 6-foot social distances between equipment and people is going to be key and important. Facility wipes. Normally, maybe a facility of this size, we would include 1, maybe 2 wipe dispenser stations. But again, as we've mentioned, the key is to provide additional stations and in convenient locations. We want these to be convenient because we don't want people walking back and forth across the room. We don't want people searching for wipes and perhaps just giving up and saying, forget it. We want people to be using these disinfectant wipes to be able to clean up after themselves, to clean the equipment, and to make sure that they're maintaining safety for all participants. Lastly, the defined, concise traffic and circulation patterns throughout the room. If anybody has been to a supermarket lately, you probably noticed that they're now doing one-way aisles. Same thing for the fitness center. We want to have marked and delineated clear traffic patterns so that people are not bumping into each other, mitigating unnecessary contact and any additional risks that may come with people circulating in and around the fitness center. So, Jeff, next slide. So the second scenario is what we would look for potentially in an existing fitness center. So we already have equipment in place. Perhaps this equipment has been there for a year, year and a half. However, given the new normal, we're going to have to go back and make adjustments to the existing layout. So again, first thing you might notice, again, the arrows sort of pointing out a specific traffic pattern throughout the room. Again, we want to be able to tell people, here's where to go, here's how to access the equipment, making sure that we're minimizing contact amongst users. So that's first and foremost. But looking at the regarding the equipment, it may be necessary to eliminate equipment, eliminate or disable equipment. This may include turning off or removing cords for the treadmills and the ellipticals, making them inactive. Strength equipment, if you have multiple pieces that are performing similar activities, similar presses and pulls, chin-up stations, if you got multiple pieces performing multiple or different or similar activities, let's eliminate one of them. That could either be putting up a sign saying out of order, or potentially just removing it from the floor entirely so that people are not tempted to jump on it. Again, this is going to be important because it helps less points of contact for people, and also it's going to be easier to clean and maintain moving forward. Setting maximum occupancy levels for smaller studio spaces. So if you can see in the upper corner there, when you include the social distance circles there, you can really only fit 6 people in that room at a time. And then typically in a studio space like that, you might try to cram 10 or so people in there doing a yoga class or something like that. Not anymore. You have to set maximums, and you have to do it based on the social distance 6-foot circles that we're including in our layouts. For fitness centers, for studio spaces, if you have or eliminating certain pieces of equipment, certain amounts of equipment, it may behoove you to invest in something like a spin bike. Spin bikes, studio bikes, are very mobile. They're very easy to maneuver around the room. You can move them in and out of studios. Very easy to clean and maintain. So if you're going to be eliminating treadmills and ellipticals, things that are very popular amongst a large group of people, it may behoove you to add some spin bikes. And just a shameless plug, Heartline, seeing the need for this, we actually invested heavily in some commercial grade spin bikes, some Kaiser spin bikes. We have 135 of those right now in stock. So if you have a need or have a thought that maybe you could include these, feel free to contact us and we'd be happy to help you out. Sign-up sheets, something to consider for really large buildings. It might need to be something where people have to pre-sign up to use a treadmill, an elliptical, a bike between 11 and 11:30. Employing those in your buildings, and then perhaps even creating like a waiting area where people, if they show up a little early to their workout, they can sit off to the side, socially distanced, of course, and actually wait for the machines to open up. These are all, again, just very high level considerations. Again, obviously the gym wipe necessities. But again, what I would say is, because no 2 fitness centers are going to be the same, everyone's is going to be unique. Reach out to us. We're happy to help. Myself, I'm going to be designing, I'm sure, many of these over the course of the next couple of months, and we're happy to lend a hand to do so. So that's pretty much it.
Great, Jeff. I think this is a ton of probably more high level than the nuts and bolts that you actually get into with each space, and where you either leave a piece of equipment open or you don't. So we've got a good routine for everybody to actually get a good workout, and we're also not compromising the anxiety just to come into this space with things being too close and things like that. So some great points here with the waiting room, design, the flow of the layout. I think, one thing that's come up a couple times in some of our other webinars and conversations is, you might, in this picture right here, you've got a double door. You might only have one entrance and one single door. You might not be able to see through it. In most cases you can, it's a glass door, but it's a great idea to have a yield sign there. Are you going to yield to the person that's trying to come out, or are you going to yield to the person that's trying to come in? These are things that, have us help you with your layout and your design here, so that you can present a popular, a positive plan here and a positive experience for your residents. And I also think too, and Jeff, you may or may not have touched on this, this is something like this design right here. Post this outside of your fitness center. Have people go through a welcome back training seminar, whether you do it through Zoom or you create your own videos. Documentation is great. but there's a lot of interpretation to be had with a good example is that email you got the other day. They either, you were happy as can be or it started a fire, right? Communicate more in different ways that, body language, tone, seeing your familiar face, the more that you can communicate on what really needs to happen in these fitness centers, I think the better. I've seen a lot of crazy things over the years in fitness centers way before COVID. And I really think don't just type this up, do a video, have, a seminar to educate people on how the center will operate. And these are all going to ensure that you have a safe environment. People are compliant to wiping things down before and after. All right. So we are going to move to the Q&A section. Again, if we don't get to your question here, or you have some other things that you'd like us to address one-on-one, please just, click the wrench on our website. Looks a little different than this. We just launched our new website. Or email us at help@heartlinefitness.com. So we can review opening considerations. If you need gym wipes, you want to get on our Disinfect and Protect program, you need a facility layout, some of the signage. We've also, introduced a wellness app in previous webinars. Just contact us. We're happy to help. It's very easy to get this information. For the Q&A, I will moderate it, but if you have questions, there's a little Q&A button at the bottom. You can drop that in and we will bring our panelists in to answer all the questions here. So let's go to Ben Bash. Any additional methods to keep water sanitized?
Had to unmute. Yeah, so there are, so there's obviously that regular health department requirements that are gonna specify chlorine and bromine levels, but we're starting to look at water quality more in terms of layers of protection. So you want to have some redundancy to allow for maximum disinfection of the water. And what we're seeing, it emerged several years ago, but it's just becoming more and more prevalent. And we think through this, the COVID-19 situation that, we're going to get a lot more requests for it. But, ozone as a sanitizer, that's a piece of equipment that sits in the filter room and works alongside your chlorinator and, helps disinfect the water. So it disinfects through ozone, which is a gas. And then there's also UV light that is essentially the water passes through a beam of UV, and that can also sanitize the water as it goes through. So, there are some facilities that'll use all three and stack it, and that's great. That's a great strategy. Sometimes they'll use two, but it is really it's fantastic to have those layers in terms of sanitizing the water, especially when it gets really hot or in times of maximum use to help keep up.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, man. Next question, and I'll answer this one, is from Susie. Would you recommend using fans in a small gym space, or would that blow any droplets that may linger in the air? I would say no. The other thing that we're saying no to is towel usage. Your sweat, nastiness, and, you're wiping it on the surface. Just let all that stuff drop, right? The recommendations that we're seeing is within 3 hours, the virus kind of deteriorates. It's not a bacteria where it grows. It's got a lipid layer that surrounds it. So, soap, detergents kind of deteriorate that outer layer. The actual virus inside, or the piece that does all the damage, once that lipid layer is gone, it's pretty vulnerable. Okay, so I would say anything that blows air around more, probably not the right plan. Don't do fans. We do have a webinar coming up. I think it is next week, where we're talking about a product from a company called Atmos Air that actually ionizes the air and pumps in positively and negatively charged ions to help, bacteria, particles. Let's make them heavier, drop them to the floor, and then actually kill them off with some science that's going on there too. But I would say, if you want to air out the space and you can open up doors and windows, that's a much better plan than actually bringing in fans to blow it around even more. But great question. Jeff, I'm going to turn to you here. Is there new signage or video training available to guide customers on new fitness center usage rules?
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I think you actually showed a few slides with some sample signage that we at Heartline are happy to provide for all of our customers. We're happy to discuss with you any particular signs that again may be tailor-made for your specific facility. What we recommend in terms of videos, Jeff, I think you mentioned this as well, but it's one thing to talk about, hey, when you enter the fitness center, you have to walk 90 degrees to the right and then take a left, and you're going to walk around the fitness center counterclockwise. It's another thing to be able to present a layout like what we showed earlier, and again, what we can provide you guys that you can then turn around and put into your employee handbooks, you can put up on your resident portals to show people, like, this is the new normal for our fitness center and this is how it's going to operate. These are the rules, these are the regulations. You guys are in control of your fitness center, so if people do not comply, you could potentially yank privileges or things like that. But yeah, I think that there's definitely signage that we can provide. Any sort of additional communication that you can provide as a manager or a leader of your apartment complex, your corporate office building, what have you, is going to be beneficial. And yeah, again, anything that we can provide in terms of additional layouts and designs and showing people how to use the fitness center in this new normal, we're happy to do so.
There's another question here that I think piggybacks right onto what you've just talked about, but how are you conducting these redesigns and how long does it take to have one done?
Yeah, so probably the easiest thing, if you are an existing client of ours and say 2 years ago we redesigned or developed your fitness center for you, we'll have your layout on file, and we'll be able to pull that up and start to manipulate and sort of see where we might need to eliminate some equipment, eliminate some duplicated strength machines potentially, where we could add gym wipes, similar to what we showed earlier. The other alternative is if we do not have an existing layout for you on file, we could schedule Zoom meetings, perhaps a virtual walkthrough of your fitness center. What's always helpful for us is if you have any architectural backgrounds, CAD files, PDFs of your room that we can work off of. Essentially what we need is simply the bones of the room. And then again, if it's virtually or in person, we just need to understand where the equipment exists as it currently is now. And then from there, we can build a new layout and a new design. Typically, that'll take about a week or so for us to turn around. We are getting quite a heavy volume of people asking for these. So, we can turn around in typically about a week. And then from there, we can assist with any moving or removal of equipment, et cetera.
Awesome. Thanks. And panelists too, as you are answering these live, if you could just hit done, help me sort through these. Ben, I've got one for you. In regards to pull furniture, and this is from Josh. Oh, hang on, guys. If we do not have dedicated cleaning staff during normal operating hours, do you have any recommendations as to sanitizing pull furniture for patron usage?
Okay. So there's no one available throughout the day. The requirement is, there may be a requirement that's going to be driven by the local health authority. So if it becomes permissible to open where you are and the health department indicates what is required to maintain the furniture in these conditions, that would be the minimum standard you'd have to meet to have that furniture out. what do we think that might look like? So if you don't have staff on hand, it could be look like something like a self-service when the patrons come. They would be responsible for wiping down their own furniture before use with wipes that are provided. That could be a scenario that we could see. Again, it's going to be driven by the health department. It could be the simplest thing might be to eliminate the furniture, have people bring their own chairs to the pool. That could be another strategy. Again, it's not one size fits all, and of course, all subject to the health authority. Those are two things that jump out. Another thing that I would recommend is, advise patrons bring, they're going to bring a fresh towel with them anyway, but I know I wouldn't mind having, a towel from my home, to put over the furniture as an additional, just a little bit of a barrier between myself and, whatever furniture is out there. That wouldn't be a bad thing either. So those are just kind of a few different things that you might be looking at.
Great, thanks, Ben. Jeff, I'm going to combine two here for you this next round here. Is Heartline able to assist with the removal or relocation of certain pieces within the room to update the current layout? And then what are you recommending for weight rooms? How do we sanitize everything? You really want to disinfect, not sanitize, everything that one would touch during a workout.
So I guess I'll start with question 2 first. So weight rooms and amenity fitness centers in general, and what we've been talking about the past several weeks, disinfection and protection, first off. Heartline has a proprietary protocol that we've put together where our certified technicians, our technicians who have been trained, come out with an antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiviral disinfection solution that we will apply to all of the equipment, strength equipment, cardio equipment, all the equipment. And then once that has sat and has properly destroyed any microbes that are actually on the equipment, we will apply a protection layer. It's a microbial protection layer that goes on the equipment. Again, this is a proprietary system that Heartline is employing for all of our current PM clients. So that's first things first. And, again, it may come down to examining the amount of equipment that you currently have in a weight room. If you've got 3 pieces of equipment that do chest press exercises, you might need to eliminate 2 of them. You might need to simply take 2 of them off the floor. You might need to put up signage saying out of order, anything to limit the amount of equipment and things that people can touch. In terms of can Heartline help? Absolutely. Charlie Amazine, who is our logistics director, and Scott Yeager have been working on a protocol for our installation and delivery teams. We have our own PPE, personal protective equipment, that we're going to be utilizing for all of our deliveries and installations. And that same crew would absolutely be able to assist with any moving, removal, moving equipment off-site to, if you have storage on-site, we could arrange off-site storage if you don't have it. So certainly, absolutely, we can not only provide the layout, but we can provide the services necessary if it is necessary to remove equipment or render equipment inoperable for the time being.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. I'm going to answer a couple questions here too. So from Julie, how long does the protectant layer last? It actually lasts a long time. What we're doing in our process is applying it every 3 months, and kind of Jeff alluded to this. There's 2 steps, but there's really 3 steps to this. We want to perform a PM so that we have a clean surface to disinfect and actually protect. And with the fitness equipment, there's a lot of stuff that accumulates inside the hoods, underneath the treadmills. You can't just disinfect because this stuff can hide in these little nooks and crannies and come back out the second that you run it. So really having, a trained professional company come out, clean it out inside and out, apply the disinfection and then the protectant. And, we're lining this up as far as the answer to the question, how long does it last? It doesn't come off when you disinfect it again, and it doesn't come off, just by you touching it and wearing it off. But we want to apply this again, quarterly when we're maintaining the equipment. So every 3 months is what we're recommending. PM, line it up with that. Most of the preventive maintenance service that we do is recommended quarterly by the manufacturer. We're lining up this disinfectant protectant service with that. It's going to last that long and even longer. But again, this is a reassurance thing for your residents, your members, that you are taking those precautionary measures even above and beyond just disinfecting at whatever frequency that is for your janitorial service or what you're requiring of your members as they use the equipment. So great question. Question from Mr. Freelander for Ben. Any advice on wading pools or spas?
Wading pools and spas are, in terms of what happens under the water, it's the same as with the swimming pool. The water itself is sanitized. The real challenge is the compact nature of those facilities, of those two items, because a wading pool or a kiddie pool is not going to have the same footprint as the main pool, and we do expect to get some guidance in terms of distance required, but those areas are going to be very challenging. The kiddie pool, small children, I suspect that it may be almost one family at a time type of thing, and reservations. Again, that's dependent on the size of the pool. What it can accommodate. So if it's a really large waiting area, maybe you could have, up to 3 or 4. It depends on what guidance we get from the local health authority, but you certainly don't want a situation where you've got these kids bouncing around in there. They're not going to be able to interact in the way that they had before, and parents are going to really have to be on it, because frequently those areas are non-guarded areas. In terms of the hot tub, those are really compact for the most part. And I think you would kind of just follow the similar type of thing where you're going to have, one group at a time, with some delay in between. Probably look like something like that. Again, it'll be interesting to see what the health authorities come out with. That was a great question and a new question. I haven't fielded that one before. Thanks, Mitch.
All right, Ben, I'm going to try and throw another one here, see if this is not too much of a curveball. Any recommendations for saunas? And then the second question is, any advice on changing areas, bathrooms, uses at outdoor pool facilities? If we open, lots of facilities I have spoke with are having hard time coming up with guidelines for this aspect.
Sauna is tough because I personally haven't worked with that one, and that is also a new question. But they're in some places they are associated with the pool area. The concerns that jump out to me are, you've got this enclosed space. It's like a really hot elevator. I would not personally feel comfortable. Those are very confined spaces. I think it's I don't like it. I would like to hear something from the health authority on that, because the fact that it's enclosed makes it tricky. I couldn't see more than one group at a time, one family unit at a time, and I'm gonna have to look into that one a little further. But that is a great question. And then there was another one there. Bathing.
Yeah. Any advice on changing areas, bathroom usage, and outdoor pool facilities? Just coming up with guidelines to help them understand how to operate those areas.
Yeah. And so we do need to hear from the health authority what they're looking for from us. Short of that, right now, our guidelines that we're working with internally are along the lines of limiting, how many people are using it at a time. So maybe one party at a time, similar as we're saying, with some of those smaller bodies of water. And absolutely, there is going to need to be some, if some of these facilities, they may only be sanitized once a week by janitorial. I would anticipate that being stepped up significantly this season as these pools open, and you will need to communicate to the public at what frequency that's happening so they can make an informed decision of how they're going to use the facility. There's no way to get it perfect, right? Our job is to get it as good as it can be, and communicate what is being done to the users.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. I'm going to answer one question here, and then I'm going to come to you, Jeff. I work in an apartment community, and we do not have an employee designated to the fitness center. I'll say a lot of people don't. How do we trust the residents are wiping down the equipment after each use? So some of the considerations here, obviously, right, is how do we communicate? How do we educate? Okay. And whether you're taking steps with somebody to sign off on a waiver, or run through, an orientation of how that fitness center operates, I would ask them to kind of sign off on an orientation that they acknowledge they need to wipe things down. If you haven't provided, security or cameras and things like that, those would be some other steps. But again, there's a level of trust and accountability. And obviously, if people are not doing this, they're creating a very unsafe environment for themselves and for others. And I just go back to, I always go back to communication, right? Whether it's written, there's a orientation, or you're creating videos. This is a way to show empathy, the body language, the tone, and get them to understand, hey, we need you to do this for everybody's safety, or don't do home fitness or something like that. So communicate, but there's no silver bullet in any of these things that we're talking about. We all have to do our due diligence to ensure the safety and communication of these policies and procedures. Jeff, question for you. Is there anything you recommend we do with the multi-purpose room if we don't have equipment in it?
Yeah. Well, certainly, as I mentioned previously, with small compact spaces like a movement studio, yoga studio, Pilates, what have you, first things first is you want to make sure that you create a maximum occupancy. And again, that relates back to the 6-foot social distancing. In a room where maybe you were able to fit 10, 12 people doing a full spin class, you're not going to be able to do that now, or a yoga class, Pilates, whatever it was. So that's first thing. Second thing, mobile equipment, things like spin bikes, plyo steps, plyo boxes, things that can be easily moved in and out of the room. Again, what we're going to be finding, I think, is as we redesign these fitness centers, these existing facilities, we're going to need to eliminate or turn off or what have you, a fair amount of cardio equipment. If you look back at some of the couple previous screens, I mean, the facilities are going to look fairly sparse with the amounts of equipment that we're going to be able to include. So anything like, again, a spin bike, something that you can include, putting those potentially into a studio space, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4 bikes. Those are mobile. Those are easy to move in and out of the room. They're easy to clean. Something like that would certainly be beneficial, and again, maximize the amount of usage potential for the room without overdoing and jeopardizing the 6-foot social distance.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm going to jump into one question here that I haven't seen this one yet. It's a good one. Would you consider adding gloves as a requirement along with the use of masks? This is me personally. Whether you stick your hand in a pot of COVID or your hand with a rubber glove in a pot of COVID and you go like this, you're going to have a problem. The virus can attach to all kinds of surfaces. It is not going to hurt you when it's on your hand. Okay. It's when you take your hand and you get it into your mouth or a mucous membrane. That's when the virus is able to kind of do its job right on you. So if you did require gloves, that again, to me, would be more of something to kind of reduce the anxiety and a perception of we're doing more. So I would really leave that up to your interpretation of, what makes your residents or that demographic really feel safe, and base your decision there. Ben, question for you. I think we got two I can answer for you. Let's do this
That's
first
my
one.
fault.
That's okay. Saltwater pool reaction to COVID-19.
That's an easy one. The salt chlorine generator is all you're doing is you're producing chlorine to sanitize the water, and you're maintaining a chlorine residual in the pool, which disinfects the water. So it's equivalent to another type of chlorinator in terms of the way that it works. There are some advantages of a salt chlorine generator for sure, but in terms of the mechanism that it's sanitizing the water, it's exactly the same.
Awesome. I'm going to jump on a couple more. We'll take a couple more questions here. I think we're approaching an hour, but there was two questions. One is, Jeff, how do we know if our current cleaning products are appropriate? And then I saw one from Kelly. Can you go into disinfect and protect portion of the webinar? How can we maximize our efforts to keep our members, residents safe? So just a couple things here to really understand, because we're starting to see, more people get on to, the process that we're launching here with this solution and disinfecting and protect, right? You need to understand the difference between cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting, and sterilization, right? If something says it sanitizes, that's not killing a virus, okay? It needs to say disinfectant, and in order for it to say disinfectant, it needs to be approved by the EPA, okay? So cleaning is just getting grime and gunk off the equipment, and you want to do that. You want to be able to disinfect on a true surface, right? Not with anything underneath of it. And that goes to the conversation I had about we want to do our PM first to get all the residue and the yucky stuff inside the machine and on top of the machine clear, right? Then you want to apply an approved EPA disinfectant. Now with the fitness equipment, it's critical. And again, this is why you want to bring in the professionals. You can't just use any type of disinfectant, right? There's hydrogen peroxide, there's ammonia, there's bleach. There's all types of different solutions. Some of them are very corrosive, and some of them can damage the electronics and the surfaces. So we've done this research. We understand what the manufacturers recommend, and our technicians understand where the more sensitive areas on the fitness equipment are, so that when we apply the appropriate disinfectant, we're not damaging our equipment, and we're going to get efficacy because we've cleaned it first and the proper kill time with the solution sitting on the surface. So again, making sure you have the right solutions. And then after that initial process is done, right, we want to apply a protective solution. Again, one that isn't a sanitizer, right? We want one that takes care of the bacteria and the stuff that can grow and build up, but also take care of something that will kill off and disintegrate the viruses. And then from there, you're providing that extra step in between sanitization to, peace of mind. And I would absolutely explain this whole process to your residents. This is what we're doing and why. And when we are cleaning it, post it, announce it. It doesn't hurt. We don't want your people in the room when we're doing this. But if they can see through the glass that we're in there spraying with foggers and taking care of this, that's peace of mind for them, right? And they're going to feel better about it. So let's do two more questions. I'm going to go to one with Jeff, and then we will go. Did you grab one here, Jeff? Let's take this one from Sharon for you, Jeff. Recommendations for exercising with masks and older adults. It's a good one.
Masks, we're recommending no matter what. Older adults, younger adults, anyone that wants to come into the fitness center. And it's not just for the safety of that individual. Again, this virus is non-discriminatory. It will infect anybody and everything that it comes in contact with. So older adults, younger adults, anybody that wants to use the fitness center, we're recommending masks. It may be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's one of those things that if it can help save lives and if it can help keep people safe, it's absolutely imperative. That's the first and foremost. And again, if you're a community manager, if you're managing a corporate office building, hospitality, whatever it is, safety at this point in time has to be at the forefront of your mind. So, if it's maybe a little bit uncomfortable for a few months here while we deal with this, masks are really, in our eyes, a requirement.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. All right. So last question here, Ben. What sort of extra steps are you taking? Do you suggest to sanitize pool equipment against COVID-19 that are available for public use? These items are like pool neuters, flippers, goggles, chairs, etc.
So we would definitely recommend, you definitely want to minimize the amount, this season, you absolutely want to minimize the amount of things that you would have out there for public use. So when I hear things like pool noodles and goggles, in most cases, those are going to be personal items. And if for some reason they aren't in your community, a lot of times there's like 10 pool noodles that hang out at the pool all season, and they're sort of like these communal pool noodles. That can't really be this season. So, those types of items would need to come in with the patron and leave with the patron. So I would try to avoid anything communal, in terms of, that type of stuff, flippers, goggles, noodles, etc. So every element that you bring in, if it's for public use, then you're assuming some responsibility to keep that clean. In terms of furniture and fixtures and handrails, there are sanitizers that are suitable for those surfaces that can be used, and there's going to have to be clarity in terms of who is responsible for doing that process, in terms of wiping down with the disinfectant and rinsing, and at what interval. Again, that's probably going to be driven by the local health authority in terms of what you have to do and how frequently. The next part of it is who's going to do it. Is there staff on site already? Is it extension of the janitorial program? What is it? It needs to be explicit who's responsible for that.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Ben. Well, I just want to thank, all our panelists, America Pool, Ben, fabulous job. These are our experts in these areas. Jeff Vogel obviously is with the Heartline team. If there's any, information or questions that we didn't cover, please just contact us at help@Heartline Fitness. Ben did push up his email earlier, but if you missed it, we'll get that information to Ben. We can review opening considerations. If you're having trouble getting wipes and things like that, we have those supplies. They're in limited. They're limited for everybody, not just us. But we have been doing our due diligence and trying to stock this and keep it supplied for our customers. And again, this webinar series is ongoing every single Wednesday at 1:30. We are featuring, different panelists and different topics that we feel are important to reopening and creating a healthy and safe environment for the users. So please join us again. Thank you for your time, and be well, do more, and there's one more day down till we finally get back to the norm, right? Take care.
Thanks.